Welcome back. Let's get started with your first lesson covering snap binders. This first album, only the front is decorated, and it was created with pattern papers, border strips, a chipboard banner and bird, a chipboard letters here, and then the brads. No, I think those are epoxy dots. And then there's nothing else inside of it except obviously our album contents. Now another approach would be to decorate the front and then similar to the front, do the back side. That's another way to do it. Now, a fun thing about these, this I Am collection is the packaging that everything comes in has the I Am logo, and it on this 6x6 paper pack and on the other elements that we have in the collection, there are logos in the corners right here. Those can be trimmed down and slipped right in here, and I'll show you the two different sizes. See the two different sizes? This was the 6x6 and this was the off of the brads or whatever, those packaging, smaller packaging. And there's also stickers within the collection that you can trim down, put on a piece of cardboard or chipboard. There's enough space in there probably to get some thin chipboard, and then slide it in. And then you've labeled your I Am album. So let's put this aside. I'm going to set up so we can actually show you how to put paper on the front of your album. Starting with our 6x8 snap binder, we're going to take the front cover off, and then we're going to take this paper and get a good idea of how much area we're going to need. We're going to try to get this heart in this bottom right hand corner. We aren't going to try, we are going to. And then we're going to trim it. So this is going to tell me that I need to cut my paper right about there. And if I'm not 100% accurate, I'll show you what happens and how forgiving this process can be. All right, so I'm going to cut this skew strip and then take it to my mark right there. And sometimes the canvas edge right here is straight and sometimes it isn't, so we're hoping it's straight today, and if it's not, we'll work with it. Okay, now another thing that you have to determine is, do you want white up here, and then it looks like that we're going to have a little black strip right up here at the top, which is kind of nice and it will be okay. Or we can move it up and have the white spot up here, and then we can put a piece of black down here at the bottom to be an anchor. So I think for this class we'll move it down to here. I'm going to go ahead and trim this piece right here, and then we'll have our first piece to glue onto our album. So using my scratch paper here, this glue stick is a bit messy and it stays purple until it dries. So I'm going to really load up this paper back and forth, and then quickly, before this sets up too much, I'm going to come over and with this really chisel edge, I'm going to come close to that, as close as I can to this canvas tape, and then go through. Now the most important places to get adhesive is around these edges. This will take more wear and tear than anything in your album, in corners especially. So I'm making sure that I blend this in. And then the magic is that we're going to turn this naked album into something quite remarkable. Now the I Am collection has foil pieces added to it, gold foil, which is absolutely stunning. And I tried to add something gold to every one of my pages, just because you can, and it's so awesome. Now this is going to dry clear. We're not going to have a problem. And then you can use one of these two brayers. This is a speedball. Obviously it covers a lot of area, or you can use the smaller one and it's just as good. And then I try to make sure I get here on the sides. Now, obviously I wasn't accurate in my measurements, and you don't have to be with this approach. So we're just going to take this craft knife, and I want to get closer because anything that hangs out over that rolled edge is subject to catching on things. That's good. I like the look of that. And then we're going to come around to this side. Now obviously the one that I did down below is in great shape because it was right on the edge. Now this adhesive is still tacky, and so I'm able to check each piece. And sometimes I just take the edge of my cutting knife, depending on what yours looks like, and just give it a little bit of pressure to seal it. You might want to put your protector on before you do that. Okay, and then one more swipe over with my brayer and we're done. And I'm going to set that aside to dry for just a little bit, and I want to show you something unique to this collection. Actually, it's this chipboard divider. And if I wanted to dress up this divider, you can see right here, here's one that hasn't been dressed up at all, and then here's one where paper was added to the back. And now with the album, I showed you that you will get these inserts. They fit perfectly right there on top of that chipboard. So if I wanted to turn this into some kind of a journaling piece, I could quickly, in this case I like to add the adhesive to the chipboard. So we've got the adhesive on like we did for our album cover. I'm going to quickly be sure and line this up in one corner so that it works properly with the chipboard edge. These are pretty good. Holes are lined up, this is lined up, and then take the brayer to it. And while I don't usually like to do it when they're wet generally, but with this thick of a piece I will get that piece cut off. So there you go. That's how to cover that side. Now if you wanted to do pattern papers, fun thing about this collection is, and most paper companies do this now, is you get this other little piece of decorative paper down where the skew is, or the barcode. So I usually trim that off, and I'm going to incorporate that into this piece. Now I'm going to keep this raw chipboard right here. So again, give me a second. I'm going to load this up and I'll be right back. All right, we've got the glue on there. We're going to put this right down in this corner, bring it up the side, and move it around. That's what the one thing I like about the glue stick is you can move it around. If we put ribbon adhesive on here, it'd be a little rough. And because this dries fast, it's a really good way to get coverage quickly. Okay, I'm telling you right up front, I'm going to be so honest. This little bracket is really tough to cut around. But let's just say I had put paper on here, I would have to come in here and be very slow and meticulous about getting that done, about getting this paper cut around this edge. And even then, once it's cut, unless your blade is really, really, really sharp, you're going to have some challenges. But we still could do that, and that turns out pretty good. So that's one way. Your cutting knife will be your best friend if you want to cover these. Okay, last thing, you have holes. These holes right here, and these are covered up. So you come in with your 3/8 inch hole punch and get the holes put back in where they're supposed to be, and your divider's done. Now there's a ton of little stickers that you can put in here, depending on what this section is about, what this divider is going to tell about. So now that this album's a little more dry, it's still a little cold to touch, but I'm still going to be able to work with it. And also you can take very carefully along this edge some water that's a very damp rag that isn't going to put white on this, not paper towel, and try to work some of this out, but don't get it on your paper here. So there's gold letters here: beautiful, grateful, enough, blessed, and of course I am. And so I think for this album, I want to keep it very plain. Not plain, I want to keep it very elegant. I want to keep it very simple. I want to keep it very, for some people, this would be just totally them, just to keep it real simple. So I'm thinking of putting this I am sticker right about there. Give me a second to get it peeled off, and let me show you how good it looks when we get it on there. But there you see how easily that can look like hand lettering on the front of this album. Then very carefully go in and push down and get it in place. So there's a very simple album in comparison to these others that have been really decorated. Let me show you really quickly how you can take this packaging and make your spine insert. This was from the wood veneer, and it's very, very thick. And these other pieces from the other collections, like the interactive elements, obviously they're there and for you to use. But what I've learned is you have to do a couple of layers. So, okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to take this one and hold this one aside, and I'm going to cut two pieces to go underneath this to push it forward so that it stands up really close to the edge of this frame. There you go. And we're all finished.